Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Five Nights at Freddy's, starring Josh Hutcherson, Matthew Lillard, Elizabeth Lail, and directed by Emma Tammy, and based on the video game series by Scott Cawthon. Now, Five Nights at Freddy's needs absolutely no introduction for those who are interested in online horror games, as the whole franchise basically became an indie darling sensation on the internet for several years, and this is the film adaptation that people have been looking forward to for quite a while. But there are some caveats. Despite having some great animatronics and a few genuinely good scares, as well as a couple of amusing cameos from YouTubers, this film kind of ends up as less than the sum of its parts. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story is about Josh Hutcherson, who plays a troubled security guard who ended up losing his brother due to a kidnapper, and has been had to look over his sister ever since his parents died. He's lost job after job under various circumstances until one day, a man played by Matthew Lillard offers him a job to work at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as a security guard. Now, it's an abandoned building that used to be popular in the 80s, but had incidents of various children being killed on the premises. So, Josh Hutcherson's character has to deal with his frequent nightmares involving creepy children, while he also looks after his little sister and finds that the animatronics are alive and they happen to go after anyone who is in the premises after midnight. So that's all I'll say about the story. So the story here is basically very much similar to that of the games, just with an expanded prologue and a bit more details based off the lore of the games. The fundamentals seem like they're all there. You have the building itself, which is basically like the building that you saw in the Five Nights at Freddy's video game. Josh Hutcherson, Matthew Lillard, and Elizabeth Lail, and the other cast members pull off some pretty good performances with what they're given. And the animatronics, which are provided by the Jim Henson Company, not only look like the characters from the games, but they tend to look good in motion as well. But we get to some big downsides. Despite this film only being about an hour and 49 minutes long, it is extremely slow in its pacing, which sometimes works when it comes to building up a good atmosphere for an eventual scare, but most of the time it feels like it's really just padding out a film that doesn't have a whole lot to do. Like they realized at one point that the film probably doesn't have enough material for a feature length movie, so they just decided to slow everything down to a breaking point and to have several scenes that feel like padding when it comes down to it. This is especially noticeable in the first half of the film. And while the pace does pick up a little bit near the second half, it feels like too much time goes by before we get anything actually scary in the film. Which is unfortunate because when the film does go for its horror and comedy, it can be genuinely funny and also genuinely scary. Mainly because the effects, despite the film only being having a $20 million budget, work out really well. And the animatronics do look genuinely creepy. Also, there are a few decent cameos here and there, one from Corey X. Kenshin as a cab driver. I'll admit he got a couple of laughs out of me. And there's also Matt Pat from Game Theory, who even references his own show in the movie when he plays a waiter. So yeah, for those who enjoy those YouTubers, they definitely do offer some laughs here and there, but they are only cameo appearances where the majority of our time is spent with Hutcherson, and he really feels like he's he doesn't do a bad job with what he's given, but it feels like his character really takes a long time to settle in to a protagonist role. He really comes across as troubled, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to root for him in some areas. And at the same time, it feels like the film doesn't even use its own strengths as much as you'd think it would. Still, it's generally well intentioned, and it certainly does respect the games as well as the game's lore, which makes sense since Scott Cawthon himself is one of the screenwriters. But I just get the sense that this works better as a game than as a movie, especially when it comes to the pacing issues and when it comes to the lack of scares. but fans of the game should enjoy this quite a bit. But for those who aren't fans of the game, it's probably going to be a bit of a hard sell. That's why I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. See you next time.